it's a very natural process. Seeing something like this is very natural in the early stages of what will be one of the great asset bubbles we have ever seen.
One of the greatest asset bubbles that we have ever seen.
But again, I think we should be very, very clear that this is very different to what we saw back in 2007, which was accompanied by a tremendous reform agenda, a great corporate governance, a great improvement in corporate profitability and the like. This is simply put the Beijing using the A-share market as a policy tool. This is a function of a lack of alternative because of regulation in shadow banking and the like. Look, as we'll see probably with PMI numbers, which are a coin flip, but the long-term trajectory of the economy is very, very clear, and that's for structurally lower growth.
I guess people were having that question last week when I was in Beijing at the Morgan Stanley China Summit, because a lot of foreign fundies were in attendance, more than what they see elsewhere across the Asia Pacific, they said in their other conferences, because they all want to figure out what's happening in China. If you've missed the 45% rally this year, by the way, and not including last year's huge growth, they're trying to figure out, is this sustainable, is this for real, or is this 2007 once again?
Well, but remember, 2007 wasn't just 2007, it was 2005 through 2007, right? And you had a 400% rally in equities off a very low base over that period. Now, I'm not saying we're going to get that again this time, but I think that we are very early stages in this. And look, we're seeing, look, at the end of the day, Beijing is using the A-share market as a policy tool, as a mechanism to equitise that economy again. And I've said numerous times, China doesn't have a debt problem, it has always had a lack of equity problem. And what you're seeing is money being forced out of property, shadow banking, deposits, etc., into the equity market. And it's all designed to basically get debt to equity ratios down to try to improve the long-term
I just
health.
checked in the price to equity ratios. I mean, back in 2007, we were looking at 50 times earnings, 40 times earnings. That was kind of the average on the Shanghai Shenzhen exchanges. This time around, Shenzhen's at already 60 times plus with the doubling that we've seen this year.
Yeah, look, and again, but if we look at this across the aggregate, I mean, you look at major sectors like the banking sector, for example, there's no way you can describe financials as a bubble, despite the fact you're about to see an IPO that's 270 times oversubscribed. In the aggregate, the industry itself is not a bubble by any stretch. And I think we need to be very clear, just because markets go up a long way doesn't mean they're bubbles. And we need to and there's always going to be pockets of excess, and there is pockets of excess now. But we haven't even gotten into I'd argue this, use the baseball analogy, we're in about the third inning of this.
Right.
Because we still haven't seen things like MSCI inclusion, the long-term benefits of the internationalization of the renminbi.
Yeah.
This can go on for 3, 4, 5 quarters.
Well, you know, they announced the QDII2 announcement on Friday. That was expected. So it looks like mainland investors can take their money outside of China's borders right now.